No one thought he would say it. Not now, not ever, and certainly not about Sam Heughan. For years, Hollywood whispered, measured, and quietly set them against each other. But this time, Henry Cavill didn't sidestep the question. He leaned forward and spoke the one name that instantly sent fandoms into a frenzy. In an industry that feeds on both silence and scandal, what isn't said can be just as powerful as what is. Careers rise not only on talent, but on the rumors left untouched, the names carefully avoided, the comparisons politely ignored. That's why what followed felt less like a casual remark and more like a controlled detonation. For the first time, Henry Cavill spoke openly, not about superheroes, fantasy franchises, or studio politics, but about another man whose name has long floated in the same unspoken space as his own, Sam Heughan. And when he spoke, it wasn't dismissive. It wasn't neutral. It wasn't wrapped in careful, strategic vagueness. It was admiration. It was respect. And it was said out loud. For years, fans and insiders had played the same game. Two British actors, two commanding physiques, two massive global followings, two very different journeys through the same unforgiving industry. One rose early, propelled by blockbuster machines and capes that turned him into an instant icon. The other built his legacy slowly, scene by scene, carrying the emotional weight of a single role for more than a decade. Hollywood never officially labeled them rivals, but it never stopped watching them side by side either. Then came the moment no one predicted. Henry Cavill didn't talk about Sam Heughan as just another actor. He spoke about him like someone who understands the cost. The cost of patience while the world races ahead. The cost of being underestimated. The cost of staying quiet while strangers publicly dissect your body, your private life, your masculinity, and your worth, day after day. Cavill made it clear this wasn't about fame. It was about endurance. What stunned listeners wasn't just the name he chose, it was the tone. There was no polish, no safe distance. He acknowledged that Sam Heughan carries something rare in this industry, the ability to absorb pressure without turning it into spectacle. The ability to stand still while being boxed into a single role, a single image, a single narrative. And perhaps most revealing of all, Cavill admitted that kind of strength is far less common than people like to believe. Suddenly, years of quiet comparisons snapped into focus. The debates over who deserved more. The arguments about missed opportunities. The constant habit of measuring success by box office numbers instead of survival. Cavill's words didn't crown a winner. They exposed a truth Hollywood rarely admits: longevity without chaos is its own kind of victory. As his comments spread, fandoms erupted. Some felt validated, others felt blindsided, because in an industry obsessed with dominance, Henry Cavill chose recognition. In a culture addicted to competition, he chose respect. And in doing so, he dragged a carefully avoided conversation straight into the spotlight. This wasn't just praise, it was a line crossed. And once it was spoken, there was no taking it back. No one expected the name to be Sam Heughan. Not Superman, not The Witcher, not any of the headline-making rivals or co-stars that usually dominate interviews. It was Sam, the man who had lived for years in the silent zone of speculation, comparison, and unspoken rivalry that Hollywood never officially acknowledged. And then, for the first time, Henry Cavill spoke plainly. No circling the issue, no image-safe soundbite, just an admission that left the fandom stunned, admiration, and above all, absolute respect. For years, Sam Heughan and Henry Cavill had been compared without ever calling each other competitors. Two tall, striking British men embodying the modern hero archetype, strong but not brutal, quiet but not cold, famous yet distant from the glare. But while Cavill was embraced early by Hollywood's blockbuster machinery, Sam walked a slower, steeper path. Quieter, more demanding, more consuming. That's what made Cavill's words land so hard. When someone at the top of the industry, with power, choice, and a massive voice, singles out another with this level of respect, it stops being politeness. It becomes recognition. Henry Cavill didn't speak of Sam as a peer. He spoke of him as someone who endured. Someone who stood firm in an industry always ready to discard those who falter. Cavill admitted he understood the price of late recognition. Of being typecast, of years of effort that go unnoticed. And that's why he respected Sam Heughan, not for fame, but for the road he walked to reach it. What truly shocked people wasn't the poetic language, but the honesty. Henry Cavill confessed that there were moments when he watched how Sam handled media storms, personal rumors, and relentless fan pressure, and wondered if he himself could remain that calm. A deeply human admission, far removed from the untouchable superhero image the public usually projects onto him. For more than a decade on Outlander, Sam Heughan lived with a single character, a fiercely passionate fandom, and a crushing weight of expectation. He didn't just perform, he carried an icon. He balanced global attention with a private life constantly at risk of being torn apart by curiosity. Henry Cavill saw that and named it for what it was, a rare form of resilience. There's one detail that lingered like a chill. Cavill said Sam Heughan is the kind of person you only truly understand after you've spent enough time in the industry. After you've tasted disappointment. After you've heard empty promises. After you've lived through almost successes that never quite turn into breakthroughs. That wasn't a quote for headlines. That was one insider speaking to another. The reaction was immediate. Fans who had spent years building walls of comparison suddenly watched them crumble. Who was more deserving? Who was more successful? Who fit the image of the perfect British leading man? With a single acknowledgement, Henry Cavill dismantled the whole narrative. There were no winners, no losers, just different paths, and different prices paid. His admiration for Sam Heughan wasn't flattery. It was empathy. Two men who understand that behind the muscles, the glamour, and the iconic roles, there are long nights of doubt, quiet fears of being forgotten, and moments of self-questioning no one ever sees. Cavill said Sam had a way of surviving in the industry without becoming loud, without chasing shock, without trading dignity for attention. And that, more than anything, is what he admired. Sam Heughan never responded in kind. He kept his familiar composure, offering silence or carefully measured words whenever asked about his famous counterparts. But in a world where experience replaces performance, perhaps respect doesn't need to be spoken. It exists in the space where both men see each other clearly, and neither feels the need to prove it. This story isn't just about Henry Cavill and Sam Heughan. It's a rare glimpse behind Hollywood's curtain, where admiration can exist without orchestration. Where, beyond charts, contracts, and invisible rivalries, there are still connections built on understanding rather than competition. And maybe what keeps people listening isn't the noise of drama, but the quiet weight of truth.